welcome to News from Nepal Television. I'm Smituki Singh Tamang. Let's begin with the top stories of this afternoon. Meeting of the ruling alliance also holding today to decide on seat allocation, a separate working unity among some parties within the alliance. All 87 parties applied to participate in the upcoming general elections granted approval. Maoist Centre and Nepal Samajwadi Party's single election symbol approved. UN Secretary-General Guterres warns of dangerous situation in and around the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant in southern Ukraine, tells the UN Security Council he remains gravely concerned. And Nepal, playing its first T20I against Kenya today, feels relieved after two more players due to visas reached Kenya. Welcome back. Now the international update. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres on Wednesday warned of the dangerous situation in and around the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant in southern Ukraine. The UN chief told the UN Security Council that he remains gravely concerned about the situation in and around Europe's largest nuclear power plant in Zaporizhzhia. Any actions that might endanger the physical integrity, safety, or security of the nuclear plant are simply unacceptable. Any further escalation of the situation could lead to self-destruction. Security of the plant must be ensured, and the plant must be re-established as purely civilian infrastructure, Guterres said. He added that over the past 6 months, this unnecessary war has resulted in the loss of countless families, millions of people forced to leave their homes, and has had a huge impact on global food, energy, and climate change. Rosemary DiCarlo, Under-Secretary General for Political and Peacebuilding Affairs, said according to the UN, 13,560 civilians were injured or killed in the past 181 days, and 249 hospitals and 350 schools were damaged. Journalists in Mexico City gathered Wednesday to demand justice and protest against the killing of Freddy Roman, the 15th media worker killed so far this year nationwide. Mexican journalist Freddy Roman, who ran an online local news program, was shot to death Monday in Chilpancingo in the southern state of Guerrero. Officials say they are investigating a possible link between the killing Monday of journalist Freddy Roman and his son's death on July 1. Guerrero is a state where drug gangs, armed vigilantes, and other groups regularly clash. 2022 has been one of the deadliest ever for journalists in Mexico, which is now considered the most dangerous country for reporters outside a war zone. While organized crime is often involved in journalist killings, small-town officials or politicians with political or criminal motivations are often suspects as well. Journalists running small news outlets in Mexico's interior are easy targets. A police chief accused of botching the response to the fatal shooting of 19 school children and 2 teachers in Uvalde, Texas, has been sacked. The local school board voted unanimously to fire Pete Arredondo, who had been on leave since June. His lawyer said in a written statement that he had been unaware anyone was inside the classrooms with the shooter. The firing came 3 months to the day since the attack and 2 weeks before the new school term begins. The attack at Robb Elementary School on 24 May was the deadliest U.S. school shooting in nearly a decade. Many parents and relatives have expressed deep anger at the police response, and there has been growing pressure for law enforcement to be held accountable. Time again for a break. We shall see you at the other side with more updates. Welcome back. You're watching English News on Nepal Television. I'm Smituki Singh Tamang. Let's get back to the more updates. A tropical storm was forecast to make landfall in southern China later Thursday after bringing rain and stiff winds to Hong Kong overnight. China's National Meteorological Center said tropical storm Maon was heading northwest at 30 kilometers per hour and expected to reach the coast of Guangdong province about noon and then then weaken as it moves inland toward the Guangxi region, Yunnan province, and northern Vietnam. The Hong Kong government said that one person had been injured and reports of flooding and a fallen tree had been received. About 140 people had sought refuge in temporary shelters set up in the city, a government news release said. Schools were closed for at least the morning. On Thursday morning, the Hong Kong Observatory lowered its number 8 typhoon warning signal to a number 3 signal, warning of strong winds between 41 and 62 kph, 25.4 and 38.5 mph. Maon, which means horse saddle in Chinese, swept across the northern Philippines earlier this week, injuring at least 3 people and displacing thousands. The storm is hitting China as many areas face severe drought brought on by record-breaking temperatures that have withered crops and reduced electricity and drinking water supplies. Jailed Malaysian ex-Prime Minister Najib Razak returned to court Thursday for a second corruption trial over the pilfering of the 1MDB state fund 2 days after he began a 12-year prison term for graft. Najib, of age 69, became Malaysia's first leader to be imprisoned Tuesday after the country's top court rejected his final appeal in its first graft case linked to the looting of the One Malaysia Development Berhad Fund. His incarceration comes 4 years after his election ouster over the scandal and was celebrated by many citizens as justice served. Investigators allege more than $4.5 billion was stolen from the fund and laundered by Najib's associates through layers of bank accounts in the US and other countries to finance Hollywood films and extravagant purchases that included hotels, a luxury yacht, artworks and jewelry. The scandal led to the ouster of Najib's United Malays National Organization, which had been in power since the country's independence from the British in 1957 in 2018 general election. Najib was found guilty at his trial in 2020 of charges of corruption for illegally receiving $9.4 million from SRC International, a former unit of 1MDB. Colombian President Gustavo Petro on Wednesday announced a new extradition agreement proposal with the U.S. as he delivered a joint briefing with Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez. Pedro said narco-traffickers should abide to the negotiations with the Colombian government or otherwise would be extradited to the U.S. Those who had reached a negotiation for better judicial terms in their sentence but relapsing into drug trafficking would be extradited and would not be able to renegotiate their sentences with the U.S. government. Pedro's statements took place as the newly sworn president is trying to take hold of more members of the Gulf Clan drug cartel by negotiating with detained members for information and evidence in exchange for better judicial terms for the detainees. Pedro Sanchez, the Spanish Prime Minister, said the Spanish society and government support this process he called the Great Peace. More updates lined up at the other side, but before that, let's take a look at what we have coming up next. Chinese State Councillor and Foreign Minister Wang Yi attended a reception celebrating the 30th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic ties between China and the Republic of Korea in Beijing on Wednesday. At the reception, Wang and Cheng Jie-ho, the ROK ambassador to China, read the congratulatory messages from the presidents of the two countries over the anniversary. Wang said that in the past 30 years, the two countries have continuously deepened political mutual trust and officially become strategic cooperative partners with frequent and smooth exchanges at all levels. Wang called on the two sides to synergize development strategies and deepen cooperation in areas such as high-tech manufacturing, big data and green economy. Chung Jae-ho said at the reception that the new ROK government will continue to deepen the strategic cooperative partnership between the two countries, further expand the common interests of both sides, and open a new era of cooperative partnership. Before the reception, Wang and ROK Minister of Foreign Affairs Park Jin attended the submission ceremony of the joint report of the Committee for Future Development of China-ROK relations in Beijing and Seoul, respectively. Now the sports update. Nepal is playing its first T20 against Kenya, a team that is considered stronger. The match will start today at the Nairobi Gymkhana Club ground in Kenya at 3:45 p.m. Nepali time. Today, Nepal is going to play the first T20I against Kenya without three players from their team. Aggressive all-rounder Adil Ansari, spinner bowler Basir Ahmed and Sahab Alam will leave for Kenya only today, as visas were not available on time. The three players who will depart today will probably be able to participate in the second match to be played tomorrow. Nepal will play 5 T20Is and 3 ODIs against Kenya. A glittering lineup of tennis stars, including Iga Swiatek, Stefanos Tsitsipas and Rafael Nadal, participate in Tennis Plays for Peace. Played at the Louis Armstrong Stadium, one of the courts where the U.S. Open matches are played, it is an USTA exhibition to benefit Ukrainian humanitarian relief. Ukraine celebrates its Independence Day on August 24. And before we say goodbye, the headlines one more time. Meeting of the ruling alliance also holding today to decide on seat allocation, a separate working unity among some parties within the alliance. All 87 parties applied to participate in the upcoming general elections granted approval. Maoist Centre and Nepal Samajwadi Party's single election symbol also approved. UN Secretary General Guterres warns of a dangerous situation in and around the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, tells the UN Security Council he remains gravely concerned about the situation. And Nepal, playing its first T20I against Kenya today, feels relieved after 2 more players who were stopped due to visas reached Kenya. That's all for this edition of NTV News. Thanks for staying with us. Goodbye. Namaste.